edge banding comes in rolls like this. It has an adhesive on the back that's heat sensitive, and it's a solid wood veneer on the front. It comes in varying widths. Basically size this to your plywood a 1/16 over. You'll need a pair of sharp scissors to trim it to a rough length. You'll also need a burnishing tool. I've got a screwdriver here. The important thing is you want a round, hard edge. One of the most important tools you're going to need during this process is an edge trimmer. This is a double edge trimmer, but a single edge trimmer would work just fine. You'll need a sharp utility knife for trimming those ends. Make sure you have a brand new blade in there. And if you want to upgrade for those ends, they have this tool that's just like a guillotine, cut square on the ends. It's a nice tool to have. And then finally, a household iron. This is your basic set of tools. Before we get started, obviously, we need our iron really hot. I use a cotton setting, and make sure you have no steam. Okay, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to take my edge banding, and what you want to do is you want to get a length of edge banding that's approximately 1 inch longer than the stock that you're going to edge band. It's a rough measurement, so I simply just kind of mark that with my thumb. Come over here with my scissors that are nice and sharp. Just chop that off. Now that I have my workpiece secured in the vise, I'm going to take my edge tape, lay it down over that edge, equal overhang on the ends and side to side. And I'm just going to start at one end with that iron, moving real slow at first. I'm going to move all the way down that workpiece, just getting that glue melted. Now try to keep your iron flat on the surface there and move at a constant rate of speed. Now as you get to the end, you can move a little quicker now. I'm going to move back and forth down that edge a couple times just to keep that glue nice and hot for my next step. I'm going to reach over here and I'm going to grab my screwdriver or my burnishing tool, and I'm just going to kind of work down that workpiece back and forth. I'm also going to kind of roll those edges a little bit, but be careful, don't break the veneer. You can kind of hear that glue squeezing in there. Do that a couple times. Now you pull your piece out of the vise and we're going to inspect it, make sure we got a good tight seam. Now sometimes little cracks do appear on the edges. Now don't worry about that. I've got an easy way to fix that. We're simply going to secure our workpiece back in the vise, nice and tight. Take your iron and just at a slight angle, ride down that edge. Now you're not pressing on the face of that veneer, just pressing on the corner of that and reheating the glue only on the edge. Again, move slow in one direction and then back and forth a few times so that glue is good and hot. And once that glue is good and hot, back to our burnishing tool. We're going to ride that along that edge and angle there and press that down. Okay, you want to let that glue cool down a little bit after you get done with the ironing. Now this is cooled down for about 5-10 minutes, so now it's nice and hard, good setup. So what we're going to do first is trim the ends. I'm going to use my utility knife with a nice sharp blade. With that blade up against the edge of the plywood, I'm just going to make a few scoring cuts across the bottom of that. Keep it nice and tight there. And after you've scored that several times, you can simply lift that piece up and snap that right off. Now you may need to sand that perfectly flush with a sanding block, but this is a good way to trim the ends. Another way to make those end cuts is using a tool like this. And basically this is a double-edged guillotine that you fit down over your plywood, and it slices the edges right off. Makes a clean cut. There's no sanding required. It works real easy, and if you're going to be doing a lot of edge banding, this investment is well worth it. Simply slide the tool right over the edge of the plywood. It's tight against the end, tight against the top. Push it down. Nice clean cut. Okay, now we've got our ends trimmed flush. I'm going to stick my workpiece back in the vise so it's secure, and we're going to trim the edges. Now it's important to follow the grain. You want to find the grain direction because you want to cut with the grain. I'm going to place it on the board, top edge flush, bottom edge tight against there, and we're going to start our cut and just move down the workpiece. Okay, with that side cut, I'm going to remove the workpiece, turn it around and cut the other side. The reason I'm doing one side at a time as opposed to doing double edges is because of grain orientation. These tools don't work that good cutting against the grain. You get a lot of chip out and tear out with wood. So I'm just going to cut the other side. Okay, now that I've trimmed both edges, looks like we're pretty much done. Last step we're going to do is do a light sanding. And it's important to sand those edges a little bit, create a little bit of a chamfer on your veneer. That way you don't get any catches. We'll take a sanding block and some light sandpaper, just kind of run it down those edges a little bit. There you have it. There's no quicker and easier way.